Hello, I am making our very first video tutorial for our technical problem from week 4. Um, and I'm going to actually do the problem from week 4 because the answers are already in the book. But I just want to talk you through it just to make you a little bit more comfortable with it. So here I have the problem already copied and pasted. The estimated market demand for good X is quantity Q equals 70 minus 3.5p, and that's the price of X for good X, minus 0.6 M, M is income, plus 4, the price of Z, which is the other good. Well, it says that right under there. So the first question is X a normal good or an inferior good? Well, for this, we want to look at, nope, I'm lying. We want to look at the income. Because the factor of income is negative, we know that this is an inferior good. So, and here's why. And if you want to read more about this, the information is on the first page of chapter 7. And if it didn't make sense before, hopefully it will now after we talk about it. To try to put this in real world context, the more money you make, the less likely you are to buy X. You are 0.6 less likely to buy X. And because it is negative and it is an inferior good, to put this in a real world context, again, you can maybe think of X like dry ramen noodles. You might like them, you might buy them now and again, but traditionally these things are staples of those who cannot afford more. So that's one way to think about that. Are X and Z substitutes? Again, this isn't math. I mean, well, it's math analysis, but you don't have to do any math to solve A or B. Now, we do pretty much the same thing that we did with A, only now we look at the price of Z in relation to the price of X, or the factor of the price of Z and the factor of the price of X. Now, because the factor of X, or the price of X, is negative 3.5, and factor of the price of Z is positive 4, we can see that negative 3.5 is less than 4. So because of this, because when one goes down, the other one goes up, Z is a substitute for X. If they went the same direction, they would be complements. And again, if we want to put this on a scale, so maybe imagine a ruler that has 0 as its middle point. Well, X would be 3.5 spaces to the left. Z would be 4 spaces to the right. So there would be 7.5. You'd be 7.5 times more likely to buy Z than X. So maybe Z, if X is ramen noodles, maybe Z is the name brand whole wheat pasta. So if the price of this pasta goes up, the demand for it goes down, and substitutes in the form of X are sought. So because Z is on the positive side of our imaginary scale, and X is on the negative side, that means that Z is a substitute for X. And again, we're still on the first page of chapter 7. So if you want to reread it, hopefully it makes more sense. If you have questions, of course, you can always ask me. Now comes the fun part, which I know you've all been looking forward to. So the first thing we do is C asks us to compute the estimates for the price, or price elasticity, the estimates for the income elasticity, and the estimates for the cross price elasticities. And we learned about these elasticities in chapter 6, but again, all these formula are in chapter 7, still on that very first page. If you want to go back and reread chapter 6, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. If you want to stick with chapter 7, that's okay too. So the first thing that we do is we figure out what our equations are, and this is all from that first page on chapter 7. So the price elasticity, T, is E equals, and this is right from the book, B times P over Q. The income elasticity is E C times M over Q. And then the cross price elasticity is E equals D, and it has it listed as PR in the book, but for our purposes it's going to be PZ over Q. Now one thing you may notice is we need to solve for Q, which is pretty easy. So let's do that first. Our equation for Q, for our estimated market demand, the estimated quantity that we will buy. If we just fill this in, let's get this a little closer. Okay, Q equals 70 minus 3.5 times, and what is P? P equals 10. Minus 0.6 times M, and M equals 30, plus 4 times PZ. PZ equals 6, which we've got all these right here. And let's group these together so we know how to do the math. Okay, so now Q equals 70 minus 35 minus, and I did work this out ahead of time like I normally do, 18 plus 24, which means that Q, if you do all that math, equals 41. So now that we know Q equals 41, we can solve these other equations. So our price elasticity formula Just want to get these grouped. There we go. So our price elasticity is the estimate equals the factor of the price of the variable in question. So B is the factor of the price of the variable in question, which means that it's negative 3.5. E equals negative 3.5 times, now what's our P? Our price is 10 divided by our quantity, which is 41. So that means, if you do the math, that E equals negative 0.85. Now, to find our income elasticity, we go to the next formula on the first page of Chapter 7. And I know that looking at these pages that have all these formula, and you have to bounce back between understanding what they're saying and the formula themselves, I know I'm making this look easier than it is. But I just want to talk you through the formula so that you know what goes into them. So for our income elasticity, the formula that's shown in the book is E equals C times M over Q. And in this case, and you would only know this by reading the book itself, C is the factor of our income. So the factor of our income is, from way up here, is negative 0.6. So E equals negative 0.6 times M, again, from right here in the problem, M is 30, and we figured out that our quantity is 41. So E, if you do that math, equals, well, my calculator came out with negative 0.439, or most times you're going to want to round that up to negative 0.44. Okay. Now we move to cross price elasticity, which again, it's the final formula on that first page of Chapter 7. And if you read the text and hopefully it makes more sense, you'll see that D represents the factor of the price of the other variable. We already looked at the price elasticity of X. Now we're going to look at the cross price elasticity, which is the elasticity of our other product, Z. So E equals the factor of the price of Z, which is 4, times 6, and we know that PZ is 6 because it says so right here in our problem. 6 over Q, and we found out that Q is 41, so now we can pretty easily solve this. Which is, I came out with 0.585. Again, you want to round that up to 0.59. Once again, I know I made that look easy, and I also know that it's not. But we just want to think about what it is that we're measuring to know what factors we're taking it from. I hope this helped. Again, this is the actual homework assignment for this week. And normally I would do a similar problem, but these solutions can be found in your book. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to next week.